Hi, I am Dr. Samgeng Ngomo.
My name is Bushe Lupindo.
My name is Tando Makubu.
I'm a medical doctor who is living with bipolar disorder since the age of 14.
I struggle with anxiety. My anxiety leads my depression.
I am a 25-year-old living with bipolar 2 disorder, and I'm just human.
I'm just human.
I'm just human.
If you were to describe your condition as like a place or a city or just anything, how would you describe the space between you and your mind?
How would I describe it? Place, city.
A confusing fun park.
I'd say Joburg, actually.
I would look at it as the weather.
Think of like a roller coasters. Some of them are teacups, they're nice, they're cute, they're chilled.
It's calm, it's easy, the roads are clean and everything. The minute you get into Joburg CBD, then it's everyone, everywhere, buildings. It's dark, the buildings are tall, everything is just, it feels like that.
When I say I'm having the anger and the irritability and the rage, think cumulonimbus clouds, think thunderstorm.
Sometimes it's a roller coaster. Your emotions are high and low. Sometimes you're scared, sometimes you're not. It's Gold Reef City.
It can come in phases, and there's days where you're thinking, oh, it's a bright sunny day. Then there's those days where you're thinking, it's a scorching day, it's a bit too hot. Or you'll think, when is this rain going to end?
That's how it feels like between my reality and my mind.
Bipolar disorder can come in different forms at different times in terms of how a specific episode can present. But we have symptom clusters. And when we speak of symptom clusters, there's things there's like a tick box of sorts where, a set of behaviors that you will have shown or displayed. And, increasing irritability is an example. Expansive mood is an example.
So if you don't know, bipolar 2 is a mood disorder. It consists of 2 episodes being hypomanic as well as depressive episodes. Those 2 can interchange in one's life for periods of about 7 days to 2 weeks, and so forth.
It can either be a depressive episode or a manic episode. But what makes bipolar disorder is the presence of mania. Mania is what makes bipolar disorder different to other mental illnesses.
I struggle with anxiety. So that's your constant thinking of always overly worrying. And then when I overly worry way too much, it can lead to depression. Then I'm overly worried, then I'm like stagnant in my thought process. Now with my ADHD, that goes with my learning disorders in terms of, for example, like I'm dyslexic. I can't even say the word. Oh, yes, that word, that one. Where your brain quickly reads way before it fills in the gaps, basically. So, and my concentration is short, sometimes long. I need to take pills to have a long concentration span.
I see my condition as a part of me. It is who I am, and it is who I'm learning to become, because it is a chronic illness and I cannot shy away from the fact that I have a mood disorder. So I cannot put it as separate from me because it would not make me who I am. I would not stand and speak about bipolar 2 the way that I speak about it on my social media platforms, the way I try to educate people, the way I try to destigmatize it, because it will always be a thing I put in the back pocket if I were to separate it from me.
I become frankly manic, and people see this poised and composed individual, and it's so hard to believe that I behave in a certain way when I'm unwell. But believe you me, I have had so many episodes to deny this. It's my reality, and I've had to make peace with it. And in order for me to thrive the way I'm doing is in my acceptance of it.
My brain, I always say to people, it's not working against me, it's working for me. Unfortunately, it has learned through trauma, through things that I've been through, or just through genetics, that this is how it should operate to survive.
There's a character that I speak about in my book. Her name is Madam J. And that's how I've made sense of my illness. I realize, in order to have that compassion towards myself, was to personify this character that I become, because that's not me. People have often asked me how I feel when a manic episode is coming, or how Madam J shows up. Do I sense her? And with time, if I look at the early phases of my illness versus where I am now in my journey, I've come a very long way. And in the early phases, I just get so sick and end up in hospital and not know what even happened, and take weeks to just get back to a sober state of mind. I've come a very long way from that. I can sense when I'm unwell now.
I would have known that was my character had I been self-aware, but I wasn't self-aware. It took premarital counseling to be able to get a diagnosis. It took somebody else saying what they feel about me and my character to get a diagnosis, which literally did not happen with my first therapist, my second therapist, or my third one, because I did attend quite a few. It was only that woman that decided to ask my now husband, well, what do you feel about her? Like, how do you feel about her? How do you think she behaves when she has money, when she's broke, when she's sad, when she's happy, when like, and he started saying things that I was surprised about. But I reflected and then I realized that I've been living with this person for more than 5 years. Sure, he knows me better than myself.
Mental health, like whatever you're struggling with mental health, there will always be the basics. Like there's always the tell for anybody, like the ones that we tell people about, the ones that it's almost like a starter, like the not being able to wake up. That is very true.
She is a very a motivated person. Like, this is my husband speaking to the therapist, is like, she's very motivated person. She will tell you she wants to do content creation, she excels at work and she does this, and then after 2 weeks all of that is gone.
When I am unwell, I become very irritable. I can become paranoid. One of the things that can happen is being engaged in high risk behavior. It varies from person to person. For me, overspending.
When she has money, she goes wild.
Your bond idea of spending money is so real.
She would want to get pizza now, and we would need to take a drive, go get pizza wherever we can get pizza, because she's impulsive like that.
I remember a time so distinctly where on the second day of the month, so it's the second day of the month, and my salary had come in 2 days prior, and I squandered all of my money before the debit orders came through.
Anything that's going to make me feel good, because you're trying to uzamunyusa intoni, that feeling. You get it when you jog, you even get it when you're drinking, like that endorphin of like that making you feel good endorphin.
And I speak about my funeral a lot. Like, in just random conversations, I would just say, oh, actually, when I die, this is how I want things to be done. And I have a lot of life covers, a lot of funeral policies, like things that I take to prepare for when I'm not there.
If I'm going out like constantly all the time, there's a problem there for me.
When I have symptoms where I'm not sleeping well, where a voice note is a podcast, it's no longer 2 minutes, 3 minutes, it's now 10 minutes. And at times it doesn't even make sense.
You know, when the thing is, when it's managed well, I can have a normal day like anybody else. I mean, when we have these discussions, and when I have these discussions on my social media, I try to show people that you can be like a normal person while having these things. But there are ways and things that you should do or you can do to make yourself feel better, to be able to do these things.
So I kind of needed to adjust a little bit to say, okay, when I'm hypomanic, I leverage on that. I need to put in as much work as possible. And when I'm down, I'm down. Let life be. I'm down.
You've spoken about the high highs you're having, and on your hardest days, what would you say gets you out of bed, and what does that feel like?
Ah, damn. This is gonna make me cry. I think it's just like constantly the remembering of like the people that love me. Like, because when you're down, a lot of the times you want to give up. Oh God, yes. See, I was trying to make you guys cry, but no, I'm crying. People don't understand how self-sabotaging your brain can be, to be like, you just want to end this feeling. You don't want to end yourself. You want to end like this constant being stuck.
If I don't have anything to do, best believe nothing gets me out of that bed. Absolutely nothing. If he wasn't there, I would be in that bed for the entire 48 hours, which is the weekend.
Those days when that happens, a lot of the times I'm fighting for the people I love. You have to be selfless at that moment. Like, because your mental health is so selfish, to get yourself out, you have to be selfless.
And then when I have to go to work, best believe I'm going to be late on that day because number one, I did not have the intention to wake up. Number two, I didn't want to do it, but I have to, because I have to provide. I have to be there. And I'm still employed. I can't abscond,
When I start my book, I say sanity, something so fragile yet taken for granted. Because if you're not navigating a mental issue, you won't even think about your sanity. It's always there. But if you're somebody that has had to toil with their illness and grapple with their mind, you are well acquainted with the reality of struggling to get a grasp of your mind.
For example, when I'm having my depression episodes or I'm overly anxious or anything like that, sometimes I do wallow in that feeling. I sit in it because I need to acknowledge that I'm not okay at that moment. I allow myself to be depressed. For the longest time, I used to beat myself up and be like, oh, I can't be like at home for a week and everybody's outside. Like, I need to be doing something and whatnot. Yes, it gets to a point where you should be asking for help.
Support is the number one thing people living with mental health conditions need, because sometimes we need somebody to run to and speak to. I always say, if you can, make a friend out of your therapist. Find out if it's possible to call her at any time of the day so you can talk to her.
I see my psychologist every week on a Tuesday. I see my psychiatrist every 6 weeks.
Going to the gym, going to festivals, hanging out with friends, just the leisure of life in general.
But there's definitely daily practices. My spiritual life is very important to me. And it anchors me, it grounds me.
Me being funny is because I'm sick. I need to laugh because I am sick. If I don't laugh, I'm going to cry. My humor comes from the fact that I'm right.
I would say I wouldn't have the level of grace and empathy for other people if I didn't have this illness. I have learned grace and empathy towards myself because of this illness as well.
And last year, when I had my psychosis, which was in public, and it was just, I caused a scene basically. I was in Cape Town on holiday. Can you believe it? And I was supposed to be going for a daily walk, and I had a psychosis. Long story short, like, people found me in the streets with no phone, no nothing. And luckily, I got recognized by these two girls who watch me on social media, and they're like, we know her. Like, let's take her to the police station. Let's figure out what's going on. Yeah, but anyway, where I'm going with this is the fact that, like, now that I have this podcast with my friends, because of my mental health disorders, I found these little things of taking a serious situation like that and making it laugh. Because if I'm shaky, like, ndizawukhala, and no time for ukhala, honestly. Yeah.
And then when it comes to my kids, I had to sit my family down and tell them that this is what I've been diagnosed with and this is what's happening. And they asked if my husband was comfortable if whenever such episodes happen, I would bring the kids to either my grandmother, my aunt, mamngani, whatever the case is. I have such a supportive village. It's actually so crazy how they're there for my kids, when I'm not able to be there.
Funny enough, people are understanding. When people care about you, they're very understanding about your little nooks that you have that they might not be comfortable with. And also, I try not to date anyone who doesn't understand mental health issues.
My husband, I feel like that is the most beautiful side of him that I've ever seen since my diagnosis. It is so amazing. I do not want to lie. I've never had somebody be there for me like he is. When I want to be left alone, he leaves me alone. When I'm hypomanic and I want to do things, he adjusts to that.
I have an incredible support structure that's very gentle with me, that's very kind to me. We have ways of checking in, especially with my sister. I've taught her, like I'll say, I'm not doing so well currently. And she'll have an understanding and a patience about where I'm at.
People come to me for like my partners or the people I'm talking to or whoever I'm vibing with at that moment. They will come to me for advice and for ways to navigate their own things that they're struggling with.
One thing I want to speak to is the topic of psychological safety. There's things that I'll share in therapy that I might not share on social media. There's things I'll share with my close friends that aren't for the public. And it's very important for people to understand, because sometimes people forget that I'm not cured of this condition. It's there every day.
You know, when you're living with a mental health condition and you're going through things and you bottle a lot of things up, it then results to you getting severe episodes where you like bust out and now you start acting manic because you had all of this thing sitting in your chest without having to offload it on somebody else. I'm not saying use them, but I'm just saying get somebody that can speak to you and all the support that you need.
Something that's so important that people need to consider is when the person is well, that serves as an opportunity to engage the person on how they wish to be supported when they are unwell. How do they wish for people to show up for them when they're struggling? How do they wish to be treated? How do they wish to be managed and cared for? So that should an episode arise, you're not impeding on me and how I show up. There's something called an advance directive. And an advance directive is basically you have this conversation when you're well with people in your life of how you would like to be best supported. So that should an episode arise, you don't feel like people are now taking over your life and you have no say at all.
You know, the part, I don't mind how people see me. I think I hate pity. I think. I don't want to, I want to talk about these things without someone being like, oh, are you okay? Like, I get a lot of those. I truly get a lot. I appreciate them. I acknowledge them. I welcome them because it's coming from a place of care. But sometimes, like, I'm zepadini bra. Like, so it almost shadows everything else that I am. And I try to undo it a lot on my socials and be like, don't, no, 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 like, see me beyond of just like, look at this cute dress I'm wearing. Someone's gonna be like, so did you take your pills today? I'm like, yo, mental health yayithele nandithetha ngayo Thixo.
The reality is that not everyone will understand that you are in a state of unwellness when you say certain things, do certain things. You show up as Samke. There's no label on your forehead that says Madam J. I'm making sense of Madam J, but whoever is seeing Samke, I'm saying things, and it's not as if I'm not in my mind to the person. So how can they understand? And it's that thing where I say, if I can't, if how can I expect other people to understand when I myself at times would struggle to forgive myself for saying those things? So I've had to make sense of it, but not everybody understands.
How does living with a mental illness complicate one's relationship and sense of belonging, especially when those spaces don't always offer acceptance or even understanding for what one is going through?
It can be very isolating. The religion and culture element of people's beliefs when it comes to mental illness is what causes the ostracizing of people with mental illness. And early on, that's what I learned related to culture and religion. I worked out my own journey because what I experienced made me an outsider. It made me a loner in terms of it because I didn't fit what was being spoken about. I had been a conduit of evil in a way because I was being exorcised. I was bewitched. There were so many explanations to what happened to me. All those things point and blame me for what happened to me. So how then do I reconnect with that same environment and community?
Going back to my psychosis that I had last year, it was almost like someone else who found me would have been like, Ubuhle is having a spiritual moment. Like, would have been like, oh, funeka yo twasa. Because the way I was talking, like, someone would have been like, oh, ngomakhulu bakhe bayamfuna, funeka twasile, tini. Girl, you're just sick. That's the one thing I try to separate from my mental health care. If any other human experience that I've spoken about is, I'm very spiritual in the sense of like, I believe in a higher power, I believe in my God, I believe anything. I'm a chakra queen sometimes, I'm not. I believe in tarot reading. But sometimes I can't dwell too much on those things because I can't think there's a calling of some sorts or something.
So it's really something that people need to work on and educate themselves. And I believe that psychoeducation is the way forward.
It took a lot for me to actually be proud of it because of the stigma. We see it with Kanye and what people do with people who act out of character. They call them bipolar. And it got to me that I really needed to bring awareness and let it stop. So if I did not come to the realization that so many people are uneducated about this mental illness, then I would have still kept it at the back pocket and be like, okay, I'm taking medication. It's not me. That's not who I am.
My impact in society, it really was because I chose this path with the aim of helping other people with mental illness feel seen, feel understood, to provide support to families and loved ones of people who are struggling with mental illness and are overwhelmed and feel hopeless, because I know what that's like.
A lot of people are chasing life in a way that I'm not. That's the one thing I've noticed. Like, you know, the best cars, right? The best house, the best. Of course, anyone and everyone wants those things. But honestly, I'm trying to be happy. Like, my main goal, like, to be in this earth and say to people, I was happy. I was so happy. I had the best time. I made connections and like, I'm just trying to be happy. And I think that's my depression probably sneaking in there, saying that because you're constantly feeling down all the time, being happy is like my main goal of life. Yeah.
I feel like I've started a movement and leaving a legacy that has touched lives in ways that I could never have anticipated. I'm grateful, I'm humbled by it, and I really hope that my book, my work, everything reaches the world over, and that the African child has chosen to speak and have a voice in a language that is truthful to what the African experience is in mental health. Dear mind, it will all be worth it. There's purpose for what you've gone through, there's purpose for what you're going through, and it will all be worth it.